In this episode, we're going to focus on a leadership skill that matters both on the exam and in real incidents. Assessing your team's ability in real time and adjusting the plan without creating panic or blame. Beginners often imagine a response plan as something you follow like a recipe, but incidents don't respect recipes, and teams don't perform at a constant level across time, stress, and complexity. The incident leader has to notice what the team can actually do right now, with the people available, the tools functioning, and the situation unfolding, and then shape the response accordingly. If you assume your team can do more than it can, you'll create unrealistic tasks, missed deadlines, and sloppy evidence handling. If you assume your team can do less than it can, you'll over-escalate, waste resources, and slow containment unnecessarily. The goal is not to judge people, but to match the response plan to current capability so that the organization moves forward with accuracy and control. By the end, you should be able to hear a scenario and identify the capability signals that tell you whether to simplify, reinforce, escalate, or redistribute work. A good place to start is understanding what team ability means in incident response, because it is broader than technical skill. Ability includes technical competence, but it also includes capacity, meaning how much work the team can sustain, and coordination, meaning how well the team can stay aligned. It includes access to necessary information, such as logs and asset ownership, and it includes authority, meaning whether the team can approve the actions it needs to take. It also includes readiness habits like maintaining a source of truth, documenting decisions, and performing clean handoffs. A team can have brilliant technical members and still be low ability in practice if it is exhausted, unclear on roles, or missing critical access. A beginner-friendly way to remember this is that ability is what the team can reliably produce under stress, not what the team could do on a perfect day. Real-time assessment is therefore an ongoing leadership task because conditions change during the incident. The plan must remain connected to reality as reality shifts. One of the fastest ways to assess ability is to listen to the team's communication, because communication quality reveals capability without requiring deep inspection. When teams are clear, they report confirmed facts separately from hypotheses, and they give concise updates about tasks and outcomes. When teams are struggling, their updates become vague, contradictory, or overly emotional, and people begin repeating the same questions because nobody trusts the shared understanding. Another capability signal is whether the team can maintain an accurate timeline, because timeline discipline reflects both organization and access to evidence. If the timeline is drifting, it often means the team is overloaded or the source of truth is unclear, and that is a leadership problem, not a technical problem. Another signal is whether tasks are actually being completed, not just discussed, because completion depends on ownership and realistic scope. If tasks stall, it may mean the plan is too ambitious, approvals are missing, or the team is spread too thin. These communication and execution signals are often visible early, and a good leader uses them to adjust quickly before the incident becomes chaotic. Capacity is another essential dimension, because even a skilled team becomes low ability when it is overloaded. Overload shows up when people cannot keep up with incoming alerts, when they keep switching context, and when they lose track of what they have already done. It also shows up when documentation drops, because writing things down feels like extra work, even though it is actually a control. When capacity is strained, the plan should be adjusted to reduce cognitive load, often by narrowing goals, defining priorities, and separating work streams so people aren't colliding. A leader might reduce the number of simultaneous investigations, focus on the highest risk systems first, or set a clear update rhythm so responders aren't constantly interrupted. Capacity can also be increased by bringing in additional help, but that only works if the help is integrated cleanly into roles and ownership. Otherwise, more people can increase noise. The key is that capacity is a real constraint, like bandwidth in a network, and ignoring it produces dropped packets in the form of missed tasks and mistakes. An exam scenario that describes confusion, missed deadlines, or scattered effort is often pointing to capacity issues, and the best response often includes narrowing focus and strengthening coordination. Skill alignment is different from capacity because sometimes the team has enough people, but the available people don't have the right skills for the current incident. For example, a team might be strong in endpoint investigation but weak in identity analysis, or strong in recovery operations, but weak in evidence handling. Real-time assessment involves noticing where uncertainty persists and whether the team has the expertise to resolve it. If the team is stuck on a problem, like not being able to interpret a certain kind of log or not understanding a critical system dependency, that is a signal that consultation or escalation is needed. The leader should be comfortable bringing in specialists, whether internal or external, because that is not failure, it is risk management. The exam often tests this by offering options where the team keeps struggling alone versus options where the right expertise is engaged through a clear escalation path. The best answer is usually the one that brings in the expertise needed while maintaining coordination and evidence discipline. In beginner terms, if you don't have the right tool, you don't keep hammering with your fist, you get the right tool. Authority constraints also shape team ability, and beginners often overlook authority because it sounds like politics. In incidents, authority is a practical constraint because certain actions require approval, such as shutting down a service, isolating a critical system, or communicating externally. If your team cannot get approvals quickly, the plan must account for that, or the incident will stall at decision points. Real-time assessment involves noticing where work is blocked by decision authority rather than by technical complexity. When that happens, the leader might escalate earlier, involve the accountable business owner, or use pre-approved actions where they exist. The point is not to bypass authority, but to align the plan with the actual approval paths so the response can move. Exam questions often present a choice between taking a disruptive action without authority and waiting too long, and strong incident leadership involves engaging the right authority efficiently and documenting decisions. If you see a scenario where everyone agrees on what to do, but nobody can approve it, that is a signal that authority alignment is the missing capability. Adjusting the plan might mean shifting to lower-impact containment actions while approval is obtained, rather than freezing entirely. Environmental constraints can also reduce ability, such as when key systems are down, logging is incomplete, or communication channels are disrupted. A plan that assumes perfect visibility and stable systems will fail when the incident affects those very capabilities. Real-time assessment involves recognizing what information sources you can trust and what operational tools are available. If logging is missing, you might need to prioritize stabilizing visibility, preserving remaining evidence, and using alternative sources to build situational awareness. If backups are uncertain, you might need to avoid risky cleanup actions that depend on reliable restoration. If identity systems are degraded, access control actions might need to be sequenced carefully to avoid locking out responders. Adjusting the plan in these cases means choosing actions that are feasible and that create new options, like improving visibility or restoring a critical coordination channel. The exam often rewards this feasibility thinking because it reflects real leadership under constraint. A correct answer is not only a good idea in theory, it is a good idea given what the team can actually do right now. Now let's talk about how to adjust the plan without creating panic, because shifting strategy can alarm people if it seems like the leader is uncertain. The best approach is to frame adjustments as normal and deliberate, based on updated information and the current state of the response. For example, you can shift from broad investigation to targeted containment because evidence indicates active spread, or you can shift from aggressive containment to controlled recovery because the attack is contained and business impact is rising. You can also shift work allocation, such as moving someone from deep analysis to maintaining the source of truth if coordination is weakening. These adjustments should be communicated clearly with the reasons and the immediate goals, so the team understands the logic and stays aligned. Another key is to keep the plan simple, because complexity increases cognitive load and makes adjustments harder to execute. A leader who adjusts calmly and transparently increases trust, which improves performance. In exam scenarios, answers that include clarifying goals and reassigning ownership often reflect this leadership style. A very practical way to assess ability and adjust in real time is to use short, regular check-ins focused on facts and blockers. The purpose is not to hold long meetings, but to maintain situational awareness and to identify where the plan is failing to match reality. A leader can ask what is confirmed, what is the highest priority risk right now, what tasks are in progress and by whom, and what is blocking progress. Those questions reveal whether the team is aligned and whether capability gaps exist, such as missing expertise or missing approvals. They also prevent silent failure, where tasks stall without anyone noticing because everyone assumes someone else is handling it. Short check-ins also help with well-being because they create predictable moments for coordination rather than constant interruption. Even for beginners, it's easy to see how this supports better performance. The team stays synchronized like a group of runners keeping pace, rather than sprinting in different directions. On the exam, the best next step is often one that restores this kind of alignment rather than one that adds more activity without coordination. Another important dimension is adjusting the plan to preserve evidence integrity, because a team that is struggling may be tempted to take fast actions that destroy evidence. If the team is under pressure, someone might wipe a system, reboot repeatedly, or change configurations without documenting, because it feels like action. A leader should recognize this risk and adjust the plan to protect evidence, such as assigning an owner to evidence handling, slowing down certain changes until key data is preserved, and documenting decisions clearly. This does not mean you never act. It means you act in a controlled sequence that protects your ability to understand and prove what happened. Evidence integrity also supports later learning and accountability, which is part of response success, not a separate concern. The exam often tests this by presenting options that fix symptoms quickly versus options that preserve evidence while containing harm. Strong incident leadership chooses containment and evidence preservation together whenever possible, because losing evidence can extend the incident and weaken recovery confidence. Real-time assessment also includes recognizing when the team is converging on a wrong assumption, which is a subtle but critical leadership skill. Under stress, groups can experience groupthink, where everyone agrees on a theory too quickly, especially if a senior person expresses confidence. A leader protects against this by encouraging validation, asking what evidence supports the theory, and considering alternative explanations. This is not endless doubt. It is disciplined skepticism that prevents expensive misclassification and misdirected containment. If the team cannot produce evidence for its theory, the plan should be adjusted toward gathering confirming or disconfirming data rather than escalating actions based on guesswork. This is particularly important in incidents that could involve data exposure or legal consequences, where incorrect claims can cause serious harm. The exam often rewards answers that emphasize validation and evidence-based decision-making because those are hallmarks of responsible incident leadership. Beginners can remember this as a simple rule. Confidence should follow evidence, not lead it. To close, assessing team ability in real time is about matching the response plan to what the team can reliably execute under current conditions. Ability includes skill, capacity, coordination, authority, and environmental constraints, and you can often detect capability gaps through communication quality, task completion patterns, timeline discipline, and recurring blockers. Adjusting the plan might mean narrowing priorities, redistributing roles, bringing in specialized help, escalating to the right authority, or stabilizing visibility and evidence handling before taking larger actions. The best leaders make adjustments calmly and transparently, keeping goals clear and work ownership specific, so the team stays aligned rather than anxious. This skill is central to incident leadership because incidents evolve, teams tire, and constraints appear unexpectedly, and the plan must remain realistic to be effective. When you can recognize capability signals and choose adjustments that restore clarity and momentum, you demonstrate exactly the kind of disciplined judgment the GCIL incident leader role is meant to measure.
Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit DailyCyber.News.